welcome back to the Avengers Reserve Podcast, Episode 7. And I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by sadboycare. How are you doing today, Care?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. It's very nice for a bit of a change in the weather today, where it's a little bit more overcast, so don't have to be completely sweating buckets in my room today, so that's always nice. Yeah, what have you been up to recently?
Not much, honestly. Just driving my dad around because he just recently had surgery. So I'm just his chauffeur for the next 4 weeks until I move to Florida.
You looking forward to Florida though?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. I haven't learned anything about where I'm living or what I'm going to be doing there yet, but when I find out, I will let you know.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a good move. Good move.
Yeah,
I would love to go to Florida one day. So yeah, we'll definitely see you out there when I do get the chance.
Definitely.
Right. We are going to do a episode breakdown of Loki. So obviously it came out, yesterday, Wednesday. By the time this came out, it'd be 2 days ago. Yeah, exciting. I'm excited to now have, another Marvel series. It really did fly by. Just your reaction, really, to the first episode, initial reaction.
We were just speaking about how, nothing really happened, but this is already my favorite series of the 3 that have come out. I don't know if it's just because I love Loki or what, but, just the set design and, everything about the show so far is, so good. And I can't even, describe how I feel about it, because I just love it. It's so good. And I'm super excited for, the next couple episodes to see where they actually take the show and, add on to, all the characters that I already have, fallen in love with. But...
Okay, yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I did just feel it was a little bit slow. It's like I was saying, I was kind of skimming through this morning to see if there was anything that I might have missed. And it was all kind of focused on that one section where Mobius has his encounter with Loki. It seemed to be that was the majority of the episode, which is perfectly fine because, just in the preview where we were talking about what it could mean for Loki and is he going to go back to his old ways? Is he going to be the God of Mischief? Or is he, going to be the Loki that we know and love now, who, eventually teams up with Thor and helps save Asgard? So, yeah, it was interesting to see that so quickly. That was kind of unexpected for me. And I think, despite that it's come across as a little bit slow, it's a good sort of starting foundation, is what I would say, for what we potentially expect to be a really good series. I think there's loads of opportunities for it to go down. Let's touch on, obviously, the very beginning of it. I will mention this as well. Did you feel like it took forever to get the opening title until the actual title Loki came up?
I genuinely don't even remember when it actually came up. But I do remember it was I feel like it was 10 minutes in.
Yeah, it was quite lengthy. I would have thought after they arrive in Mongolia, then they would have done it there, because that's a nice segue. But yeah, it was all the way up until I think he gets the ticket or something like that.
Yeah.
That moment where they were talking about this. I think it's around there, which is,
Was it, so it was...
a bit of a stretch.
Was it after or before when they described the Timekeeper timeline thing?
What, you mean the judge?
No.
When the judge describes it all.
The Miss Minutes video.
Yeah, it was after that.
Okay. It kind of makes sense to me then, because they were kind of introducing not only the characters but the scene and kind of the history of it, and then they would do I don't know. It doesn't seem completely out of place. It was a while, but it could have also just been used as a segue device because they didn't know how to kind of segue between two things. And they just put it there to, like, segue a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like it was not...
analysis.
What?
I said, what a great film graduate analysis that was.
Well, I'm just... You asked, so...
Yeah. No, yeah.
But it did take, like, a while, but it didn't feel out of place. Like, it felt like it was where it should be. I don't know. I guess they could have done it between them being in Mongolia and then going to the TVA. But I kind of liked that they introduced everything first, and then they kind of, like, were like, okay, now the show starts, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's just, it's very important for debut episodes to kind of have that proper introduction, you know? I feel like that's why they did it. And look, like, Loki is a very well-known character in the MCU, so it's not necessarily that we didn't know who Loki was, or, you know, we needed to know more about him. It was just more, you know, like, we've obviously spoken a lot about in the past few weeks, but, like, who's the timekeepers? What's the TVA? Like, all of that is kind of unknown to a lot of people. So I think it was very important that, you know, they started off very strongly by introducing them, and it was all not necessarily about Loki, but about the timekeepers and the TVA. That was, I think, the real important thing, why they did it like that. So we'll just touch on quickly, obviously, Loki arrives in Mongolia where the TVA interferes. That entire scene I thought was particularly brilliant. Like I was just saying, it starts fast, you get the introduction. My favourite part as well, I think, would have to have been when Loki gets hit, because it's just so unexpected, and the what's called slow-mo reaction, the slow-mo where it's like 1/16 of speed but feeling all the pain in real time. I thought that was brilliant.
I really like the way that they don't just, like, protect the timeline, they also, like, use time to their advantage, you know, like, in that way where they, like, smacked him with this thing, and then he was, like, moving slower than everyone else, but everyone else was, like, I don't know. And then also the collar things, that I thought that was really cool too. I thought, like, I don't know, I didn't expect them to play with time in that way, I guess. It was, like, unexpected to me, because I just didn't, like, I don't know, I didn't see it coming. I don't know, that's literally the definition of unexpected. I just, like...
They basically, I wasn't expecting them to use it to their advantage so much, and they've come across already as very powerful beings in the MCU, just because of that factor. I mean, even Mobius, when you look at him at first glance, you know, he's not a powerful guy. It's not somebody that you expect to beat, you know, people in fights and things like that. But the fact that he uses the little device to control time in his own way makes him a very powerful person. So I definitely love that they've basically become the alpha of this series already, that, you know, they're obviously trying to sort things out, which we'll get onto. But yeah, that entire scene where Loki gets hit, you know, making him, you know, basically look useless, I've just thought it was fantastic. Really did enjoy that. And
it also kind of is brought back up later when the Infinity Stone thing happens. Which I think is like this whole episode is kind of just like a series of, like, I don't know, I guess showing Loki that he's not as amazing as he could, or, like, as he thinks he is, you know? And he doesn't actually have this glorious purpose that he thinks he has. But, yeah.
I did enjoy once they get to the TVA, and there was the whole, what's it called? He gets his suit eradicated, and then he gets to watch the show. Did you spot the multiverse mention there?
Yes.
Yeah. So they were talking about how if a variant goes off and things like that, we obviously know by the end of the episode that it's Loki is one of the variants. So yeah, I just really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed them actually mentioning it as the multiverse, and we'd said that it was going to be mentioned throughout in the previews and previous episodes. Yeah, and I strongly believe now that Loki is the reason for the multiverse happening, or why it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, what do you mean, like, why it's going to happen?
Well, as in, like, he's the variant that's going around messing with time, and he will be the reason why the multiverse actually comes into play, is because, as they were explaining it, if a variant goes off in one direction, it can then end up leading into multiple different ones, and therefore bringing time all together in one way to create the multiverse. The video explains it a lot better than I do, but yeah, I just thought it was incredibly interesting to kind of mention it. It's almost like this is what's going to happen, and but they obviously are not mentioning that it's Loki as of yet. So nothing confirmed, but that was kind of like the prediction that I was talking to you about. That it was like, I don't know if it's obvious or it's just not really too much of a prediction, because you can kind of expect it once you look into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just thought when I saw like the multiverse and like all the timelines coming together, I just kind of thought it was very interesting that the multiverse, even though it's like separate universes, is that what it is? Separate, like, yeah, universes and dimensions and stuff. Like,
Dimensions,
it all has the same timeline, which I thought was really interesting. Like, because I thought the way they were going to do it was each branch was going to be a different universe, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to see what they do in, like, the films that they actually explore the full multiverse and the full, like, spectrum of the multiverse. I'm interested to see what they do with that timeline, if that makes sense. Like, because everything's working on the same timeline, so, like, how... Like, I don't know how to describe it, but, like, I guess kind of, like, what butterfly effects, like, cause things to be a little bit different.
Sure, right, yeah.
But,
yeah. I mean, yeah, we've mentioned that it's going to focus very heavily on time, so I think it's, foolish to presume that we won't see sort of how things happen and what sort of, like, ripple effects will take place. I'm just curious whether it'll be, like, Loki at the centre of it all, or it'll just kind of move into other characters. Yeah. It's, the opportunities really are endless, I feel, with this series, because there's just so much possibility, really.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really want to see more about the Timekeepers specifically. I felt like, as much as we've come to understand that they're the alpha male, they're still very hidden away, and we haven't seen them other than sort of a couple of graphic designs and things like that. So, yeah,
we have seen them. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't think
wasn't Stan Lee's cameo in Guardians 2? Wasn't he speaking to the Timekeepers?
Ah, potentially, yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was supposed to be. So, technically we have seen them, but they're kind of just like on an asteroid in the middle of space, which I actually was thinking about this because, like, obviously it's like a quick flyby, and then I think it's also a, what's it called? End credit scene in that film where, like, they're just like chatting shit and whatever. But there's a part in the in a couple of the Loki trailers actually where there's an asteroid just in the middle, like, of this light circle, I guess. And it makes me think that maybe that's the asteroid that the Timekeepers are on, and that's the timeline in that, with that light circle, whatever that is. You know?
Okay.
But obviously we won't find out about that until later, because we haven't seen that yet. But it was just a theory that I was thinking about when I was watching it, so I thought I would throw it in.
Okay, yeah. No, that's definitely cool. Yeah. I think that would be interesting if that comes true. I think there's a fair few possibilities for the Timekeepers to get a more of an honourable mention, I suppose is how I'd word it. Just a bit more time,
Yeah.
what's it called, screen time, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mobius, we get our first look at him when he goes back to 1549 France. He's investigating a variant attack. And there's also obviously a child there he has a sweet little interaction with, trying to find out a little bit more. Talks about that the stab wounds are consistent, the bodies are spread out so that they look like they don't really know what's happened. What was your initial reaction to this? Because watching it for the second time, I was kind of a bit like, okay, I understand something a bit different.
Yeah. Originally, I thought they were chasing Kang the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, because we knew that he wasn't going to be the villain in this. But I was like, oh, maybe they're going to chase him and then they won't find him. I don't know why, because my film brain should know, no, you need a resolution to problems in a TV series or else it's just a nothing series.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I thought it was Kang, but now knowing that it's Loki and the kid pointing to the devil makes me think that he had his horns on. I don't know. I feel like that was like a hint that like no one, like some people probably caught it, but like I didn't catch it until I knew that it was Loki. Kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
that's exactly what I was thinking. Like when I watched it the second time, then I was like, oh, maybe it's Loki. But the other thing is that like, and this is something that, you know, I'm not entirely confident in saying that this is what it's going to be, but I think it's, you know, a possibility because obviously the child points to the devil and says that's who it was that does it. The other person who looks like a devil, that, you know, more like a devil than Loki, is Mephisto. So, you know, who's to say that there isn't more than one variant going on and disrupting time? Could it have potentially been Mephisto? I don't know how to say it, like decoying as Loki. I think it's a potential, you know. Mephisto is a devil-like creature, and I think it would make a lot of sense. But whether that will actually come true or not, I'm not too sure. You know, I think we've kind of mentioned like who's really going to be brought into Loki, and whether it'll be Mephisto or Kang. You know, I just thought that was a neat little trick. I think the devil specifically was kind of a bit like, okay, maybe it is Mephisto. But yeah, also when you watch it later, you're like, is it Loki? So I don't know. Potentially, you could see Mephisto come into this series, just posing as Loki for a day or two. I don't know. Be interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. We'll talk about the trial because I quite enjoyed that scene. It as short as it was. Absolutely loved the way that Loki was essentially mugging off the judge. Is what I've got written down in my notes. To do with the whole timekeepers and what her actual job is. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really remember much of that scene. I'm not gonna lie. But I did think, wait, do I even have anything in my notes about that? No, all I have is the part where he says ridiculous bureaucrats, and I was like, there's no... Oh, I thought it was interesting that there's, like, no magic in the TVA, and, like, the TVA is basically, like, they're all-knowing, and they can do whatever, but all of their technology is analog. Like, no matter what it is, like, even the screens, I mean, I guess they're kind of, like, digital, but, like, everything is, like, as analog as it could be, possibly, so that they don't, like, I have a feeling that it's so that no one abuses any of the power that they're given and, like, ruins the timeline.
Yeah.
That was just my thing, and that was the only thing I actually really remember taking from that scene, because he was talking about the ridiculous bureaucrats, and I was like, oh, I don't know, because everything's like 1950s, 1970s themed as well. Like even the Miss Minutes thing was like the video where they explain everything, it was themed after like a 1950s like educational video. Or like it says, I looked it up, it says car safety propaganda cartoons from the 50s. So it's really like everything is kind of like brought back to that analog like thing. I don't know. And I have a feeling it's so that no one like abuses their power and messes up the timeline by doing so.
I definitely feel like that's a very important point. I think it's, like we were saying, like we know a little bit about the timekeepers, but not too much. Everything's very secretive. Everybody kind of sticks to themselves, really. And everybody just kind of does their jobs and moves along. And I think it's exactly a kind of way to keep everybody in order, I think is the way to best kind of describe it.
Yeah.
Make sure that nobody falls out of line. 100%, I would definitely agree with that. We basically get our first glimpse at the TVA external building. I thought that was really cool. It's a completely different shift from what we were just touching on, where you have the sort of dialogue, the still walls, a very sort of like dingy looking building, to a bright, futuristic, don't know how to explain that type of architecture, but it's kind of, everything is everywhere. And I thought that was a brilliant shift to what life could actually be like in the TVA.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And it also goes back to what Loki said about, like, there not being any magic in this world, or not even in this world, wherever the TVA is, like, there's no magic there. So, like, the fact that they have, like, flying cars and, like, it reminded me a lot of, I don't know, this episode has, like, a lot of, like, old cartoons in my head for some reason. And that scene specifically, like, the scene of, like, the flying cars and all of the TVA buildings and everything, really made me think of, what is it called? The 50s cartoon about the future. Oh my god, what is it called? I can't remember now.
Cartoon.
What is it called? Hold on. Because it's...
I'm not sure. I mean, it reminded me of, like, The Fifth Element, if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Because that's very much like flying cars, like futuristic buildings and things like that.
Jetsons.
It was,
Jetsons? Is it Meet the Jetsons or is it just Jetsons? You've never seen the Jetsons?
I'm not too sure. I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it's the Jetsons. That's what it reminded me of, because they have, like... This is, like, what they thought in the 50s, like, life would be like now, basically, which is, like, flying cars and, like, weirdly shaped buildings that, like, don't look like they could be held up by gravity. And it just made me think of that when I saw... It was after I saw the TVA, like, informational video that I started actually, like, connecting dots to, like, 50s cartoons for some reason. But that was one of them. And I just thought it was really... I know that it's not modeled after that, but, like, in my head, it kind of was, like, a parallel to... Or, like, a... I don't know. Because, like I said earlier, like, it's something that is possible in our world. Like, it's... Like, we could have flying cars at some point, you know? With just, like, science. And we wouldn't need to use magic to do it. You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's...
Yeah.
That was a tangent.
I think I get what you mean.
But
no, I do feel like a lot of people have been taking a stab at things like that and referencing things for very specific reasons. The fact that Marvel never, leaves a page unturned. Yeah, 100%. I think that's yes, very very niche pick, but yeah, I'll have to go and watch Genesis.
The Americans will know what I'm talking about. It's like a staple American cartoon.
Basically, like 80% of our audience will know what this is, and there will be the 20 British people being like,
and you. Yeah.
Okay, this kind of moves into where Mobius is now, like, teamed up with I was gonna say Tom Hiddleston then, but Loki.
Technically.
And yeah, obviously they're teamed up, and Mobius is trying to like gauge a reaction from him in certain ways, and starts him on this whole soul searching journey, from the off, showing his errors, questioning him. Before we get into all of that, the DB Cooper reference,
yes.
the fact that they try and pass off that Loki was DB Cooper was
yes.
absolutely brilliant.
That's
love
what
that
I
little
was
scene.
telling you about too. That was the guy that I didn't remember his name. That was the guy that jumped out of the plane and disappeared. Like, that was what I was talking about in the preview. So I think that it's really cool that they actually did that. And I think it's also really funny that they explained it away as it being Loki, I just thought that was...
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. And I was really happy that it was actually something that, like, someone actually predicted would happen, Even though they didn't predict it, they didn't predict
100%.
that, like, Loki did it as a bet. But, oh god. But still.
No, I thought it was cool when it gave us like another glimpse into what Loki used to get up to and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, God of Mischief, like living true to the name 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, just absolutely loved that reference. It was brilliant. But yeah,
that was great.
Mobius is, that's one of the things that he's showing him among other moments that we've obviously seen Loki in previous films and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the part that I was kind of saying is why it felt kind of slow, because I'd probably say a good 20 to almost 30 minutes is this bit right here, where he's getting him to come onto his side, to come and help him, and puts him on this soul-searching journey. I can't put it of a better way,
I loved that scene. Even though it was very long, I feel like it was very... interesting to get like a look into Loki's brain about the things that he's done, And it was like, what was it? Where is it? Oh, okay. I thought it was very interesting that he had this like master plan to it was kind of very similar to Thanos' plan, because he said, what was it? Choices breed pain. Or something along those lines. And it was like, basically, he wants to be the only autonomous person and just take away everyone's free will. But then when Mobius tells him that everything that he has ever done and ever will do is completely pre-planned by the Timekeepers and pre-approved, like, he can't handle the fact that he doesn't have free will himself. And I feel like that was the, like, catalyst where he was like, oh, shit. Like, he was kind of, like, questioning his spot in the universe. And then he escapes and he finds the Infinity Stones, like, multiples of the Infinity Stones just in a drawer. And he was like, shit. I can't be as powerful as these people. And I think that he is still motivated by power as of right now. He has kind of changed his soul purpose a little bit, his glorious purpose, we'll call it, but he's still motivated by power. And I think that that's going to happen until, like, the last couple episodes. I didn't think the soul searching would begin until the last couple episodes, I'm not going to lie. But
I thought that too, yeah.
I think that it's going to be, like, it does line up with that theory that I was telling you about, how the theme of this is going to be him soul searching, and just the fact that he now has to physically fight a rogue variant of himself is, like, just so telling of, like, it's literally a slap in the face of, like, this is inner conflict. This is what this show is about. It's the inner conflict of Loki, where he physically has to fight the bad parts of himself. In order to, like, change his soul and, like, actually do good. The way it's, like, a different, obviously, it's a different character development arc for him but hopefully we'll get back to the same place where he was in Infinity War. I don't know.
Definitely.
I just went on a tangent. I'm going on tangents today.
That's perfectly well said. I was going to say, I think, like he's always going to be kind of motivated by potential power routes and things like that. And yeah, I think that's very well said, in the fact that he is literally going to have to fight a version of himself, and it correlates perfectly that, he's going to have to fight the bad parts of himself inside himself. So yeah, 100%. I think that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I can't wait to see it. I really can't. I think, if you're going to have a kind of like prediction-wise and kind of go out on a limb, is it the fact that, I don't really know too much about how the TVA works and how the Timekeepers work, but what happens to this rogue Loki? Do we end up getting two Lokis in a similar way that we ended up with two different versions of Gamora?
Ooh. I don't know. Wait, do you mean... What do you mean by that?
Just in the sense that he's obviously going off in this branch of the timeline, right? So one rogue Loki is like here, and the normal one is kind of, I presume everything... Oh, actually, no, everything hasn't been reset, so it doesn't make too much sense. But it's all creating this rift, right? Which is eventually going to become the multiverse, and that's why we're getting the whole like free Spider-Man, the Doctor Strange movie, etc., etc. And I just think there's, this is why it's a prediction and not like, this is what's going to happen. But I think there's potential that we could see both Lokis, or more than one Loki, pop up every now and then after this series. I just don't know if it's going to be a sort of, one Loki has to die, because that's not resetting the timeline. One Loki is going to have to go back to where he originally was, because otherwise, unless that's the way that the multiverse is created.
Yeah. I'm thinking of... You said two Gamoras, but did you mean two Nebulas? Because I feel like that's more of a parallel to this. In my opinion.
Well, it is actually two of both, thinking about it. Yeah, when you said two Nebulas, the two Nebulas is the one that you actually get, right?
Yeah, it's the one where there's a bad one and a good one. And then you get the
Gamora. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with Gamora, it's she dies, and then a different version of herself is then there in Endgame. But yeah, so Nebula's probably a better example and a better way to describe it. So yeah, I think you're just you could end up with two Lokis propping up here and there.
Yeah. I definitely think, I mean, they even teased that in the trailers and stuff. Like, with the election Loki, and then TVA Loki is, like, in the background, So, like, that could be... Yeah. They could, like, finally catch up with the variant at some point, and he's, like, trying to run for president in order to, like, find this glorious purpose, Because maybe... I genuinely think that the Loki that is going rogue probably found out somehow. Like, he probably went through the same or a similar process as our Loki, the TVA Loki, did with, like, learning about how his life is meant to go. And he, instead of trying to become a better person, he was like, well, no, I don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to take what I want. Whereas this Loki is, like, actually trying to right the wrongs that are being done by a different version of himself throughout this series, I guess. But
yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really. Prediction wise, I think it's very hard to kind of go off of this episode, I think is what we were saying.
Yeah.
I probably expect Loki to kind of cock up at some point, which will be a very funny encounter.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just just happy that we've got another series going on. It really did fly by, but also feel like there has been a void in my life where I've been missing a Marvel series.
Marvel content.
So yeah.
A hole in your heart where the Marvel
symptoms,
content was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to episode 2.
I have one theory. I don't know if it's a theory, but I have like this inkling in the back of my head that like the evil variant of Loki is actually Lady Loki. So it's not like Tom Hiddleston's Loki. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything to base that off of other than the fact that someone said that about the trailer. They were like, oh, Lady Loki might be in it. And I was like, And so now it's just in the back of my head. But I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think the only problem is, like we've said when we analysed the trailer, is that you can see one Loki and then TVA Loki in the background. But
true, but you have to remember that Loki can
shapeshift.
So if it is Lady Loki and she's trying to run for president in America, she'd probably have a better chance at doing that if she was a white guy than if she was a woman.
Right, yeah.
A little bit of social commentary there.
It's true. It is very true.
So, anyway. But I don't know. That's just like a little thing that's just like in the back of my head. But
yeah. Oh no, I think that would be interesting. I definitely think there's potential for Lady Loki. Has it been confirmed or not? I'm not too sure. I feel like it has.
I don't know. I feel like it has too, but I don't actually know.
Yeah, I swear the actress has been confirmed or something on the Google cast, maybe.
That's what I thought.
So
that's what I thought
too. I would absolutely love to see Lady Loki pop up at something, and I think that theory that it could potentially be, the rogue variant. Yeah, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense, and we will just have to see. Don't really know when we're going to see Ravonna or anyone else who kind of like makes a cameo from the MCU that we haven't seen just yet. But very much looking forward to it. Looking forward to next week's episodes. Don't really know too much what to expect, and I kind of like that for a change.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where they take it because, like I said in the beginning, there are literally endless possibilities for this series. So.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching or listening on Spotify. Please be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new. You can also check out links in the description for Care's channel, and I think I put your Twitter in there now, so congratulations to you. Spoiler.
Don't use it much, but yeah.
There's also going to be it's going to be an annotation on the end of the screen as well, where you can click through to both of our channels as well if that's easier. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.